Imagine losing everything, not because of your own mistakes, but because of the person you love. Hi everyone. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Now, let me tell you a story that will shock you. Because of me, my girlfriend was deported. I'm 28, and I've been dating my girlfriend for about 27 to 5 years. We met in college. She was an international student. After graduation, she got a job, while I continued my master's studies. Her company sponsored her visa, but it went bankrupt, and she was laid off. She was given limited time to find a new employer who could sponsor her visa. She was extremely stressed, applying to jobs every single day and attending countless interviews, but unfortunately, she didn't receive a single offer. She really wanted to stay because she loved this country, and also because I live here. One day, I was hanging out with a friend, and he suggested that I could sponsor her visa myself since we had been in a serious relationship for quite some time. I loved her and didn't want her to be stressed, so I shared the idea with her. At first, she hesitated. She said she didn't want me to think she was with me just for residency or citizenship. I wanted her to stay, so I was determined to help. We consulted an immigration advisor and decided to prepare the documents ourselves. Mostly, she studied which papers we needed to collect. She still applied for jobs, but without the urgency she had before. It took some time because we had never done anything jointly before. We lived together and just split bills. She had enough savings to live for a while without issues. I had to fill out some forms to become her sponsor, and I felt awkward about it. I really wanted her to stay, but it felt like too much responsibility. Eventually, she finished her part, and only mine remained. I finally told her that I didn't want to do it. She was devastated and asked why. I explained that I had suggested it because I didn't want to see her constantly stressed, but then realized I shouldn't bear that responsibility. We talked for a long time, and I said that I still wanted to be with her, but I just couldn't be forced to take full responsibility. She said it hurt her deeply. After that, everything changed, and she almost stopped talking to me. She continued applying for jobs, attending interviews, but eventually her visa expired. Before she left, I told her I loved her and wanted her back, but she said my words changed how she looked at me. Weeks have passed since she left. I miss her cooking, her presence, and the time we spent together. I still want a future with her. Friends say I was wrong, but I disagree. I think they're biased. I read many comments, and it seems everyone thinks I'm a jerk. For those asking what responsibilities I would have had, I would have been financially responsible for her for 3 years. If she received any government support, I'd have to reimburse it. I couldn't sponsor anyone else during that time either. And yes, I miss her, not just her cooking but herself. Also, for those who said I'm probably an immigrant too, what does that even matter? My parents moved here, so I'm living here. I still stick to my position. None of my acquaintances have ever done anything like this. It just doesn't feel normal. I would like to someday have a home with her, but I don't think anyone should be forced to take responsibility for someone else's choices or circumstances. Convincing someone they had to do it, that's gaslighting. Before I read people's comments, I want you to write your thoughts about this story. Personally, I agree with most commenters that I really did mess up because the girl literally lost time, and that's why she got deported. No one forced me. I promised her, but kept hesitating, and in the end, this is how everything turned out. He seriously let her down. So why should she still respect and love him, especially when he doesn't even understand what he did? It's clear it's a huge responsibility, but still, as I said, no one forced him. And if you truly love someone, ready to show it in such a way, why would you let it all fall apart? It ends up looking like he just wanted to show off, but in the end, it was all a flop. Comments, you're an idiot. You've been in a serious relationship for 5 years, and you're still unsure. Moreover, it was your idea, and you backed out at the last moment. By the way, you don't have a girlfriend anymore, she's now your ex. I'm not sure. I know I love her. I just don't think relationships should require sacrificing so much. Relax. You no longer have to stress about giving up for her. It's strange to claim you want to spend your life with her, but the moment it comes to sacrifices for your shared future, you immediately run away. Honestly, sponsoring someone is odd. None of my acquaintances in relationships have ever done this, and for me, it would have been a necessary stress. What responsibilities would you have had to take on to sponsor her? I would have had to guarantee that she wouldn't be a burden to the state. She always had a job before being laid off and had savings, but I just didn't want to participate. Update 1. I couldn't respond to everyone who commented on my previous post. Many people wrote to me personally, asking for an update. Overall opinion was that I'm a jerk. I'll answer here too many questions, including what happened after my first post. I talked to her over the weekend. She hadn't sold her car before leaving, so she contacted me and said she arranged to transfer the car to me. I understood it must have hurt her, so I told her I'd buy a plane ticket and come. She had never visited her home country since moving, so I had never been there. I wanted to show her I was serious and still committed to our relationship, so I wanted to fly and discuss everything in person. She immediately refused. She said tickets were expensive and I had work. I begged her to let me come, but she said she couldn't just forget what happened. I explained my position again. Yes, I understand it hurt her, but I shouldn't be forced to take responsibility for her, and I hoped she would understand. The conversation was long. She said she could never trust me again. She said I initially didn't see a future with her and that I had abandoned her. She said that sponsorship wasn't the only factor, but it played a big role. In the end, she said she still loved me but didn't think we should be together. For those calling me a jerk, how many of you have actually made such a decision? How many would really agree to sponsor a partner's visa? Comments, you keep repeating that you shouldn't be forced to take responsibility. But wasn't it your choice to become her sponsor? The fact that you keep insisting after refusing the responsibility you voluntarily took still makes you a jerk. It's one thing not to have financial means to help your partner. Another to betray her trust and keep insisting you shouldn't have to do it. What nonsense. It was your decision from the start, and you bailed in the worst possible way. I suggested becoming her sponsor, but I felt like I was being forced. At that moment, I felt I had no choice. I don't know how to phrase it better, but it was extremely stressful. She was in terrible shape because of the job search and visa sponsorship. She looked for jobs from morning to night, went to interviews, and was devastated with each rejection. Almost every day. Our relationship was turned upside down, and it was painful to see her like that. That's why I suggested becoming a sponsor. It was the only option I saw. I didn't like our situation, and although I suggested it, later I realized how wrong it was to feel forced into it. Again, she didn't force you and didn't expect you to pay for her. Stop saying you were forced or didn't want to be forced to take responsibility. Your phrasing makes you seem arrogant and selfish, still denying you were a jerk to her. I never said she forced me. The situation itself left me with only one option, to become her sponsor. And that feeling seemed wrong to me. Unsurprisingly, she left me, and if she hasn't yet, she will soon. Listen, no one would blame you for refusing to sponsor her if she was actually pressuring you, but she didn't. You only felt indirect pressure because of the situation she was in. You suggested it yourself. She hesitated, but you still reassured her she could rely on you. You consulted an immigration lawyer, learned all the risks, and still agreed to proceed. And you watched as she did all the heavy lifting, collecting documents, preparing paperwork, all while you sat there, doing nothing. And then, when it was finally your turn to act, you said you changed your mind. She literally spent hours and hours preparing these documents, when she could have focused on job hunting. Anyone in her shoes would feel humiliated if you had refused. Upfront, or at least immediately after consulting the lawyer, your relationship might still have had a chance. But you showed that the moment a risk appeared for you, you abandoned her. After that, the relationship was already over. Unless you're willing to do something radical to prove you truly want a future with her and that you're a reliable partner, accept that it's finished. Let her go and move on. She was so stressed that I didn't know how to behave around her. I just wanted to do something. My intentions were good, but the situation was sudden. And the stakes were so high that I felt like I had no other choice. So now, what should I do to fix this? Why are you even trying to fix it? You'll be living in different countries. Most likely, she won't get a new visa. What are you trying to save? Why maintain a relationship if you will see each other once a year? I suppose I hoped she could get a new work visa when the old one expired, or get a new one and then return. Question: who exactly made you feel forced? As I said, it was just the situation that made it feel like I had no choice. Watching her stressed, crying after rejections, I couldn't just sit there. I was stressed too. Honestly, you don't realize what a terrible partner you are. Look up the meaning of that word. Seems like you don't get it. Think about it. What kind of long-term relationship do you even want? If your future partner gets sick or loses a job, would you also abandon them? Judging by your behavior, that's exactly what will happen. You're not just a bad partner, you're generally a bad person. If I had been in a 5-year relationship, I would never have acted like that. And luckily, I don't know anyone who would. I don't blame her for feeling used. Yes, based on what everyone said. I understand I was a bad partner. I suggested sponsorship out of desperation, but I had a bad feeling from the start. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't comfortable carrying this through. Every time I saw her working on the documents, explaining the process, I felt guilty and just wanted it over. Update to a couple of weeks ago, I received a money transfer from my ex-girlfriend. This happened while I was asleep since we live in different time zones, so I only saw the transfer in the morning. There was a message attached: I hope this helps pay off some of your student loans. The amount wasn't huge but still significant. I tried to contact her but couldn't. Last week, our mutual friend tried to check on her, but also couldn't reach her. He Googled her name and country and, with Google Translate, discovered she had died. It's unclear exactly when, but likely soon after she sent me the money. No one found information about her funeral. She wasn't close with her family and had few relatives in her home country. Other friends also learned about it, and since then, everyone blames me for her death. I am devastated. However, I believe it's unfair to say I caused her decision or could have helped her. She had depression even before we met, and I had always helped her through it. But issues still occasionally arose. Moreover, she broke up with me after I tried to fix things. This incident negatively impacted my relationships with friends, especially since I study with some of them. Some close friends also stopped talking to me. What should I do? How can I convince them it's not my fault? And how can I get my friends to treat me normally again? And fortunately, there was no further update from the author, and some parts of the story had to be censored. For clarity, she left of her own will. My boyfriend doesn't want to marry me because I'm an immigrant. I'm 29. I moved to the United States 7 years ago as a master's student from Indonesia. I met my boyfriend, who was 30, a few months after I arrived, and we've been together ever since. He's a U.S. citizen. After finishing my studies, we had a serious conversation about where our relationship was heading. I made it clear that I wanted to get married and have children in the future. He expressed the same intentions. I remember asking him if he could see this future with me because I didn't want to be in a relationship without a real future. He said he loved me and that we were definitely moving in that direction. Last week marked our 7th anniversary. We occasionally discussed marriage, but both of us were busy with our careers, so the timing never seemed right. However, recently my company announced the possibility that my department might be outsourced. I'm in the U.S. on an H-1B visa at temporary work status, which means I need to start looking for a new job immediately if I want to stay in the country. On our anniversary, I brought up the topic again. I asked him if he didn't think it was the right time to consider marriage, as it would also help solve my visa issues. His reaction was like he was about to vomit. After pressing him further, he admitted he hadn't planned to marry me until I obtained a green card, permanent residency in the U.S. I was completely stunned because he had never mentioned this before. He explained that he didn't want to be used as a visa mule, his words, not mine, and he wanted to be sure I would marry him out of love, not just to stay in the U.S., which would only be possible after obtaining permanent residency. It took me some time to process this. I asked if he would consider moving to Indonesia with me. He refused. I reacted badly and walked away. I had started dating him because he was the kindest, most attentive, and generous man I had ever met. Now it feels like I've lost 7 years. Yes, visa issues are a problem, but I never started this relationship intending to use him as a safety net. I couldn't believe that after almost 10 years together, he didn't know I wasn't that type of person. Author's comments. I've been on an H-1B visa for just over 2 years. After my master's, I had about 3 years of postgraduate work authorization. I was extremely unlucky in the H-1B lottery and only received a visa in the last round when I was still eligible to apply. Obtaining permanent residency in the U.S. isn't easy. I know people who have lived here for over 15 years and are still waiting for their status. To those who messaged me calling me a gold digger, you made me laugh. I'm fully aware of the legal aspects of sponsoring a spouse for permanent residency, including the financial obligations. This shouldn't have been an issue for the reasons I will explain. I have a technical background and recently moved into management. I work for a large company and earn a good salary. My boyfriend is a teacher, and our incomes are vastly different. He earns around $60,000, while I make around $300,000. We've lived together for about 6 years. We have a joint account for rent and utilities, where each of us contributes a percentage of our salary. The rest stays in our personal accounts, and we do not manage each other's finances. I am fairly frugal and have accumulated significant savings and investments. If my boyfriend were worried about the legal obligations of financial sponsorship over 10+ years, I would have gladly discussed redistributing finances. I even considered buying a house together and setting up joint ownership. The point is, everything could have been solved. I never financially depended on him and never planned to in the future. Perhaps I hadn't thought of everything in advance. But it's worth noting that the idea of marrying for the visa only came to mind recently, when there was a real threat I might have to leave. Before that, I hadn't thought about it at all. As for my situation in Indonesia, I come from a very religious and conservative family. I had a difficult childhood. My family doesn't support my career choices, and I cut off contact after moving to the U.S., so they are not involved in my life. I had a great relationship with my boyfriend's family. Update: he is now my ex. I took a few days to recover and then contacted him to talk. He agreed. It turned out that he had been insecure for some time because he earns less than me. Friends joked about our relationship, calling me the mom because I covered most of the expenses. He had never mentioned this to me before. Because of the income difference, he felt insecure and started thinking I was with him just for the green card. I was speechless. I couldn't believe his friends had gaslighted him to the point that he doubted our relationship. I reminded him of how he supported me during my master's program, buying groceries when I had almost no money. Why? Letting me live with him for free during my last year of studies to reduce my expenses and avoid additional loans, letting me use his car for interviews. I told him he did all of this out of love. And yes, after I started working, I covered more household expenses. That's my way of repaying him for everything he did back then. He understood but didn't expect me to start earning more than him immediately. I asked if he would agree to couples therapy, as some suggested, but he refused, saying he didn't think he was wrong. He wants to be the provider in the relationship and doesn't feel that way now. So, the only way to change things would be for me to quit and find a lower paying job, which I won't do. We broke up. His family was shocked. They hoped he would propose soon. I temporarily moved into an Airbnb. Some good news, my company offered me a similar position in another department, based in France with a slightly lower salary. I've always dreamed of living in Europe and gladly accepted. I signed the relocation agreement and will move to France within 8 to 12 weeks. My boyfriend doesn't want to marry me because I'm an immigrant. I'm 29, and I moved to the United States 7 years ago as a master's student from Indonesia. I met my boyfriend, who was 30, just a few months after arriving, and we've been together ever since. He's a U.S. citizen. After finishing my studies, we had a serious conversation about where our relationship was heading. I made it clear that I wanted to get married and have children in the future. He said he felt the same. I remember asking if he could see this future with me because I didn't want to be in a relationship without a real plan for the future. He assured me he loved me and that we were moving in that direction. Last week marked our 7th anniversary. Over the years, we sometimes talked about marriage, but both of us were busy with careers, so the timing never seemed right. Recently, my company announced a potential outsourcing of my department. I am on an H-1B visa, which is a temporary work status, meaning I need to find a new job quickly if I want to stay in the U.S. on our anniversary. I brought up marriage again. I asked him if now wouldn't be the right time to consider marriage, since it would also help with my visa situation. His reaction was like he had just seen a ghost. After pressing him further, he admitted he hadn't planned to marry me until I got a green card permanent residency. I was stunned. He explained he didn't want to be used as a visa mule and wanted to ensure I loved him and wasn't just marrying for residency. I tried to ask if he would move to Indonesia with me. He refused. I was shocked and walked away. I had dated him because he was kind, generous, and thoughtful, and I never expected to feel this betrayed. It feels like I've lost 7 years of my life. Visa issues are complicated, but I never intended to use him as a safety net. Author's note: I've been on an H-1B visa for just over 2 years. After my master's, I had 3 years of postgraduate work authorization. I was extremely unlucky in the H-1B lottery and got my visa in the last round. Getting permanent residency in the U.S. is very difficult. I know people who have lived here for over 15 years and are still waiting. For those calling me a gold digger, I laughed. I know the legal requirements of sponsoring a spouse, including financial obligations. But let me explain why this shouldn't have been an issue. I have a technical background and recently moved into management, earning a good salary. My boyfriend is a teacher, earning around $60,000, while I make around $300,000. We lived together for about 6 years. We have a joint account for rent and utilities, and the rest of our finances remain separate. I am frugal and have significant savings and investments. If my boyfriend worried about the long-term legal responsibilities, I would have gladly negotiated financial arrangements. I even considered buying a house together and establishing joint ownership. Everything could have been planned. I never depended on him financially and never intended to. The idea of marrying for a visa only came to my mind recently, when I faced the real threat of leaving the country. Before that, I never considered it. My family in Indonesia is very conservative and religious. I had a tough childhood, and they don't support my career. I cut off contact when I moved to the US, so they are no longer involved. My boyfriend's family was supportive, which was one reason I loved him. Update: he is now my ex. I took a few days to recover and then contacted him to talk. He admitted he had felt insecure because he earned less than me, influenced by his friends' jokes about our relationship. He doubted my intentions, thinking I was only after a green card. I reminded him how he supported me buying groceries when I had none, letting me live with him free of charge, lending me his car for interviews. I wanted him to know I appreciated his support, but I never depended on it. I asked him about couples therapy. He refused. He wants to be the provider but feels he can't. Changing this would require me to quit my job and take a lower paying one, which I won't do. So, we broke up. His family was shocked. They had expected him to propose soon. I temporarily moved into an Airbnb. Some good news: my company offered me a similar position in France, with a slightly lower salary. I have always dreamed of living in Europe, so I accepted. I signed the relocation agreement and will move within 8 to 12 weeks. Final update: a year later, I love living in Europe. France has been amazing. I've traveled through France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, Switzerland, Denmark, Germany, and Luxembourg. I'm exploring and enjoying the work-life balance here. In the US, I used to work 10 to 12 hours a day, but here I rarely work more than 8 hours. I'm focusing on therapy, self-care, and rebuilding my social life. Dating is slow, but I am trying. I have a cat, and my life is slowly settling into a new happy rhythm. Even though I still remember the care my ex showed me, this chapter is closed. I am grateful for my experiences, my independence, and the opportunities ahead. If you've been shocked by these stories, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Comment below what you would do in a situation like this. Don't miss our other videos for more unbelievable true stories.